to know a band before they get popular? Tune into the Underbelly Hours, Sunday nights at 6 p.m. on WRSC 88.7 FM, and discover the best of local, unsigned musicians. Don't miss out on the next big thing. Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode of the Underbelly Hours. Today, we have a very special guest on the podcast, and it's actually something that we've been wanting to talk about for quite a long time, this project of Situation Chicago. I'm so glad we finally can meet in person, too, on top of it, compared with everything that was happening last year, and talk about this incredible project, which Trey here is a big part of. So we're just going to jump right into it. No usual new music talk this week, just talking about Situation Chicago. So welcome, Trey. How is this project going for you? And can you, walk us through, for people who don't know, what Situation Chicago is about?
Sure. Yeah, the idea... Well, a couple years ago, I started a nonprofit organization called Quiet Pterodactyl. And quick overview, we're going to do music and arts communities, like fundraising and events, and educational series. Then, obviously, the pandemic hit, so all of our events were canceled. Mm-hmm. And then, at first, it seemed like, well, we'll just kind of put Quiet Pterodactyl on pause for a little while, kind of wait and see what happens. And then, within a few weeks, it just dawned on me that it really defeats the purpose of starting an arts and music nonprofit if we just sit on our hands when the arts and music communities are suffering the most they have in the last 30, 40 years. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I came up with some maybe mediocre to terrible ideas, but then hopefully the good idea we came up with was this record, Situation Chicago. This is the first one. So, yeah, the one that came out last year, it's a double vinyl collection of 25 all Chicago artists, very diverse in range and style, and from kind of local up-and-comers to some bigger internationally known names. A nice balance as far as that goes. But the first one benefited 25 independent music venues, and all the proceeds were just split evenly between those music venues.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible stuff. And I do remember reading on your website, I believe... Is it true that last year's Situation Chicago raised $35,000 for CIVL?
Uh-huh.
That's absolutely incredible. So you guys had the album. Was there anything else that you were, selling to promote this? And what was the strategy going about, trying to get people to contribute during a time that was tumultuous for, pretty much everybody?
Yeah, well, we definitely didn't want to compete with what the venues in CIVL were already doing. Things like shirts and certain types of, creative merch, puzzles, mm-hmm. and, all kinds of things that people came up with. A lot of the venues were already doing that and collaborating with artists to do that. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to, feel like we're just doing the same thing and kind of competing with the people we're trying to help. But we were able to come up with some other projects kind of tied to Situation. We did cold brew canned coffee with dark matter that had this imagery on it. So it was Situation Chicago cold brew. And that sold really well, sold out pretty quickly. We did a series of, which is still ongoing now, a series of t-shirts and hoodies and such, but of long closed, gone but not forgotten venues. So Double Door and Sonotech, mm-hmm. Rodan, right, we're currently doing Lava Lounge. Mm-hmm. So places that, for me, that was kind of where I got my music start in Chicago, were some of these bars and clubs. So we didn't want to focus on people closing because of the pandemic. But, places that I still feel like are near and dear in people's hearts. But just a different creative avenue to not... But, I'm not competing with the venues that are already doing it.
Right. And speaking of CIVL, I don't know if have you brought up CIVL before on the podcast? I don't really think so.
Not extensively.
So let's really quickly...
You might have mentioned it in passing.
Yeah. Describe what that is. So CIVL, from my understanding, and I guess to correct me because you've been working with them, is Chicago's Independent Venue League, and mm-hmm. it's basically a collaboration between a bunch of the independent venues in Chicago working together to solve problems that arise in the industry and kind of just banding together, especially during these times, to raise funds and figure out how they can still stay afloat.
Yeah, exactly. I think CIVL was originally created to focus on this large-scale project that the city was about to give tens of millions of dollars in tax break to, that was just going to bring in Live Nation money and Chinese development money, and was really going to be the antithesis of, I think, supporting local in the way that Chicago often does. So it was originally, it wasn't just to fight that happening, but it was to help our local government, steer their decision-making in a way that did support the network that already exists. And then when the pandemic hit, CIVL shifted gears and We're actually part of the inspiration for NEVA, which is the National Independent Venues Association. NEVA didn't exist before the pandemic. That was a response to the pandemic to create this national independent venue. A way, and that was also a way to lobby the government to try to get funding for an industry that was kind of being forgotten and, being just not considered. So the Save Our Stages movement happened. But because CIVL already existed, and they kind of already, I guess, had their shit together, for lack of a better way to say it. The NEVA was definitely very much modeled over what was happening in Chicago already.
That's so cool. The more you know. Hey, Chicago influencing bigger movements in the States.
Yeah, well, that's one of the nice things about the Chicago music community is that there are other markets where venues are hyper competitive and there isn't camaraderie there. They almost see each other as enemies. And then there's other places where large companies like Live Nation dominate half the market anyway, so the independents are just kind of left to fend for themselves. It's just, here's a few bars and music venues. But Chicago has, a lot of these venues have been around a long time, like Metro, Hideout, Shuba's. All these owners know each other, and they play nice together. They go to see shows at the other people's venues. So in a way, they're competitors, but it's also, either they all win together, or giant international corporations are allowed to come in and take over. So so I think we have that history of. Just working together already.
Speaking of history, now I'm just curious, especially with listening to you talk a lot about the merch that you guys are doing, like throwback merch, venues that maybe, have been shut down over the past couple of years. You seem like somebody who's been very, interested in the Chicago scene for a while, and I'm curious, how did you get your start? Because, everyone kind of delves into this a little bit differently. Did you start as, a musician, or did you just, fall in love because of some sort of show you saw when you were younger, or?
I came from a very musical family. My family's very religious, Southern Baptist. So I grew up in rural North Carolina.
Wow. That's far from here.
It is. But my whole family's musical. I was in a very musical environment. Grew up singing gospel hymns, and then as I got older, I started to take it more seriously. I studied music and theory, and went to college to play music. And then about a semester before I was going to graduate, I decided to move to Chicago to be a musician instead of finishing. No regrets. I moved to Chicago and just kind of stumbled strangely into a job running sound at Double Door.
Nice.
So I was just immersed in it right away. And that kind of helped me get my legs. And then since then, my main job hasn't always been in the music industry, but music is my passion, and I've played in bands here and there, and booked lots of events and shows with other people. So I've always had somewhere between my toes and it up to my waist, somewhere in that ballpark.
What made you choose Chicago to move to over New York or LA?
Well, I was playing in this band, and actually went to college in Missouri. So I was playing in this band, Smack Pocket, and
that's amazing.
And my guitarist and I, Jim, we based on where the music industry functions, we decided to either Chicago or New York, and we visited both, and we realized we'd rather be poor struggling musicians in Chicago than really, 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 really poor struggling musicians in New York. But also there are a lot of things musically happening in the scene here that I was just drawn to. A lot of the post-rock stuff that was on Thrill Jockey, like Tortoise and Sea and Cake and bands like that. A lot of acid jazz was going on here. There was great rock scene, house music, obviously, but there was just so many other things here that there were music and labels that I was drawn. I was a huge fan of Thrill Jockey, and we were kind of playing stuff that maybe loosely would have fit into that scene. So, it was just a place that had music that I really appreciated, and also Chicago was just a more comfortable place. We touched on briefly how intense New York can be.
Yes.
Which at some point I did live in New York for a year and had a lovely year and came back to where my adult home is. It's just Chicago.
Yeah,
there's an intensity in New York that is, sink or swim, pretty much.
Right.
And now it's gotten a little crazier.
I'm sure, especially after last year. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Well, also, I was at a friend's birthday gathering outdoors yesterday. But someone brought up New York, and I was like, the thing about New York, and I love New York. I actually go visit, as much as I can. But you think of New York as like everything's at your fingertips, but it's actually everything's immensely inconvenient. Like, can you imagine playing a gig and having to haul your gear and your guitars
to the subway or something?
Yeah, you can't take all that stuff on the subway. I mean, I guess some people do, but you know, Chicago's just more navigable. Things are more accessible.
Right.
And even like as great as their train system is, it's still going to take me an hour and a half to 2 hours to get across town because I have to walk 20 minutes to the train, then get on that train, then switch to another train, then walk for another 20-25 minutes after I get on. You know, it's like
yeah.
It's the city that never sleeps, but just doing everything there just feels like a giant burden in a way.
Yeah, it's
Which is funny because like people out here in the burbs like always complain about like, oh, we have to drive to the city. Like, shut up. It's 40 minutes.
Right, yeah.
Like, are you really that like burdened by a 45
But
minute
you know, the
drive?
funny thing is people in the city do the same thing. They, like, I have friends in the burbs that have houses and kids and whatever. Like, well, why don't you just come out? And everyone's like, I'm going to drive all the way out to the burbs. It's so far.
And there is something to be said about, I think Chicago could drastically improve its transport system, but that's
certainly.
a whole nother...
Yeah.
We're not going to get into that. 'Cause
Maybe like 50 to 100 to 1,000 years from now.
maybe.
They'll get it right. You know?
Long after we're gone, that's
Oh, yeah.
for sure. So, kind of circling back, though, to Situation Chicago, which is what we're here to talk about. Or, I don't know, now I'm just more curious about you as a person, too, in your backstory. You know, you mentioned music is something that drew you to this city of Chicago. What venue... Or not what venue, but rather what job, when you first started coming here, and you mentioned you've been a part of so many different types of, you know, work in music in Chicago, is there one that kind of sticks out to you as like, if I could always work this job, I would always do blank? Like something that's more of your favorite. You don't really have one.
I don't know that I have one. Like, I mean, I guess creating Quiet Pterodactyl, because that was kind of like the culmination of all those jobs that I'd had doing different things from front of house to back of house, you know, event planning, you know, orchestrating things or hosting things or playing myself, you know, or creating Quiet Pterodactyl allowed me to take all the skill set that I had built up over time and put those all into one thing, and like, now we're gonna do all the things, you know, all the things that I like to do. Because like getting that job at Double Door was awesome. You know, it was an awesome introduction for me. Like, I would say that was one of the most fun jobs I ever had. But I also...
Did it open up some other doors?
It opened up a third door.
Oh,
but no, but
I know. Yeah, that's why I'm here.
but it was just because the environment. Yeah, like they were booking all different kinds of music. You know, it wasn't just rock, and like and from local to like international bands that. That I got to see play there or work with, you know, or even meet and hang out with. But I never wanted to be a sound engineer. So from the job perspective, no, I don't want to do that job ever again, even though I know how.
Right.
But it was definitely, but I met so many people and got to see so many great shows, and it was a cool place to be in at the time. And that was like the heart of Wicker Park, which I think anyone who's still around now call that kind of the heyday of when Wicker Park was cool, whatever that means.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, depending on, I guess, of course, where you grew up and stuff, but I think a lot of people from the burbs, just any place in Chicago for them is cool when it comes to music, especially comparatively, like, which kind of leads me to my next question. You've been a part of the scene for a while. You're working with so many venues. I mean, with this project with SituationChicago, 25 for just this album alone. Is there anyone, and I know maybe this is a little bit unfair of a question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there anyone where that really excites you about the style of music that they've been booking, or maybe their format of throwing shows, anything like that? I know it's hard also.
I don't want to play favorites because all these
right.
guys are so great. But definitely, like, the Whistler for a small club, I think, has done an amazing job of booking an eclectic, array of music. Doing things like, and actually right down the street, Cafe Mustache, doing things like the open beats nights, or doing like all Japanese disco nights, like that's definitely outside of the box from just booking touring rock bands,
Right.
yeah, just like doing really creative stuff like that. Those guys have always really impressed me. St. Hideout has always done really creative things, you know, and not just with music, with comedy, with lecture series, you know, with educational series, with political gatherings, you know, where so even though their main function is to house music, they also, you know, book readings. They do all kinds of other things too.
So what is the situation like right now? And feel free to bump in. I don't want to like be talking so much. Right. I was just about to ask where everything this is called Situation Chicago. Situation Chicago Volume 2 is already out. So what is the situation right now as far as, you know, the venue's health, I guess, in Chicago? Because, you know, on one hand, you guys raised $35,000 with just this one, I still can't believe that, project for independent venues. On the other hand, though, I'm sure that's barely, you know, that's not a lot of money in perspective of everything that was lost last
even
year.
if that all went to one venue, that's not going to pay their mortgage for the last year. You know, it's pennies on the dollar. Yeah,
and honestly, I mean, we haven't really heard anything much about Save Our Stages after the bill was passed, whether or not some of that money has actually gone to independent venues or not. So,
I'm actually really glad you're asking this question.
Right.
Because
do you know anything about that?
I do. I have the inside scoop. The good thing is that in Chicago, again, we've had a sense of community and a sense of support, and I know venues have helped each other out in many different ways. And unlike a lot of other cities, a lot of the venues, independent venues in Chicago, either own their building or have long-term, like 10, 20-year, you know, leases. So they're less likely to just disappear overnight, where they have in other cities over the last year. And an awesome side, which even when we came up with the first situation, like, we wanted to help these venues, but we also wanted to be a part of the national Save Our Stages narrative, you know, like any attention that we could push on that to get that federal money to come through, you know, we just wanted to play our small role in that. The awesome side is that money was approved in January. The bill got passed. It got a lot more attention than a lot of other things, and you know, from senators, and that's great. Meanwhile, absolutely $0 have come through from it yet. A few weeks ago, the grant or the site that you apply for the money went live, crashed an hour later. Everyone had to, like 3 weeks later, they had to go and reapply for everything. And to my knowledge, as of this morning, no one's seen any money from that. So, and at this point, like, no business model is designed in any industry to have a year of not just no profit, but of nothing, of being,
Exactly.
You know, even though restaurants have also very much suffered during the pandemic, they're at least allowed to, if possible, squeak by. You know, like with doing carry out or like
carry out,
you know,
outdoor dining, and
you know, most of these venues they're designed to be, you know, to not resonate sound outside of it, so there's no windows. You know, they're designed to be dark places, you know, that are as soundproof as possible, to cram as many people in them as possible. And for good reason, the government has said they couldn't reopen. But if the government is going to tell them that they can't be open, then the government also needs to respond and help them survive as businesses. So again, like in no industry, anyone's, you know, set up to survive a year without any movement. But now it's been 15 months that they've been closed, and not a penny's come out of the government yet. And it's literally like right now it's just a wait and see, because there's a couple of venue owners in particular that I talk to very regularly, and they're like, every day I just wake up and look at the bank account just hoping the money's coming in, and every day it's not. And every day it just gets more and more desperate.
Have they gotten any kind of answers or heads up as to why it's taking so long?
No, if you go to the VSOG website, it literally I looked at it last night. It literally says we do not have any updated information, like in big letters. Like we have nothing for you. We don't even know what's going on.
Wow. In the meantime,
it's very frustrating. Again, an awesome thing is it does look like the majority of the venues in Chicago are going to survive this, and at least be around a little longer, if not a lot longer.
And is that in part a lot because of donations and contributions from the community and pulling together?
Yeah.
Has there also been city help of like maybe loan forgiveness or just freezes on rents? And
very little. Every venue situation is different, and some venues have more financial backing than others to help kind of weather the storm. But yeah, I'd say it's pretty dire. until that money comes through.
This, I just kind of want to throw it there because I remember, it reminds me of a post I saw on a Chicago musicians group page. Somebody was talking about, the plan, what's the game plan for musicians and artists when everything starts to open back up again? Like, how do we make sure that the venues won't be taking advantage of musicians and artists? And I wanted to bring that up because I wanted to direct this kind of to the audience. And there's a lot of musicians and artists who listen to us. Please, I would say, they at least say they do. So when you guys make those kinds of posts, I think a lot of times it's very inconsiderate of what the venues themselves are going through. You just heard Trey say that a lot of money, in fact, zero money from the government has been seen for independent venues.
Yeah, like they couldn't even get PPE money because they had to furlough 100% of their staff.
100% of the staff?
Well, yeah, when you're told to be closed,
damn,
you have to lay off all of your staff.
Take out shows.
Well, no, but damn. Yeah, so you just heard firsthand, what these people have been going through. So I understand, and there was just this whole argument on that page that I'm not going to get into, but I understand, we've all been suffering, especially, musicians and artists too, but please be considerate of what, I guess, independent venues are going through and your favorite places because, they might be doing okay now, but there's still no guarantee that they're ever going to reopen again if there's not any money in the bank for them. So I think we all need to be kind of relaxed about our stances and make sure that we're not just going to start attacking each other the second things start opening up and being like, oh, this booking agent is not giving me,
Well, even pre-pandemic, I think there, not with everyone, but with some people, there is an adversarial. Musicians look at the venue owners or the booking agents almost as the enemy. Right. Well, they just want me to, they don't want to pay, whatever. And the other people are but you're not bringing people, but most of them, I feel like, and I know a lot of them, the independent venue owners in Chicago are amazing people, and they do want what's best for the musicians. That's why they're in this. No one's in this industry just because it makes them a fuck ton of money, because it doesn't. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
So they're doing it because they love this thing, and they do want to support the musicians as best they can.
But they also have a business to run.
But yeah, I would say the same thing. Yeah, I would hope that musicians would ease into it and be understanding and even more patient than usual. But also if you know that this venue owner is a real jerk or a racist or just greedy or whatever, why would you ever want to play there and do business with them anyway? Right. Let's not support venues like that if you know that they're run by terrible people. And again, in other cities, I know that is almost more of a staple, but I truly feel like in Chicago that is not the norm. But also a shift. So with the first one, the proceeds went to 25 independent music venues to help them survive. With the second one that just came out the other day, the money's actually going to the CIVL SAVE Emergency Relief Fund. SAVE stands for Staff, Artists, and Venues. So they already did a round of micro grants to help people that were staff members, and not just for CIVL members, for any music, theater, anything in any type of venue in the whole Chicagoland area, Chicago and suburbs, could apply for those grants. Right now, they're waiting till they have a certain amount of money brought in, and I don't know the exact date, but probably towards the end of the summer, early fall, they're going to open up to do micro grants for musicians. So the majority of the money that we're going to raise with Situation Chicago 2 is actually through CIVL going back to musicians rather than the venues. So yeah, it's a slightly different play on the same idea of the fundraiser. But in all the venues, which I think now there's 50 members of CIVL, they're all helping promote the record, even though the money's going back to the musicians because they do care, because
they can't exist without musicians.
The music community, it's symbiotic, the music, and not parasitic. All these things have to play together in order for it to work, and for everyone to be successful and to have any kind of sustainable economical scene.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly put. Just symbiotic. One can't function without the other. I don't know why people can't see that clearly. It's
part of that post / pandemic in general, just a feeling of, I think, helplessness a little bit.
Yeah,
we've talked
maybe
a lot
people
about
are scared,
people,
and they should be
lashing
scared.
out.
The world's crazy right now.
Even beforehand, it might come from a scarcity mentality of there's only so many venues to be booked at, and if you're not getting like at any of them, you start lashing out and, and
I think
pointing towards them instead of maybe like saying like, okay, well, what can I change about do I not have an EPK? Is that why I'm not getting that? Like, or is it some other? Anyways, a little introspection never hurts anyone.
Yes, right. And I think this is actually a good point to start pivoting and talking about the new Situation Chicago thing that just dropped. And in fact, before we start talking, let's do a... I don't know why I said that in that manner. But before we start talking...
you got accents?
I know, I'm
just ready to throw out.
Just that's how I roll.
So the next situation...
Exactly. Let's play...
All jokes aside, there's like usually... at least 8 different accents.
Right. You just randomly, it just happens. Y'all know. Let's play a track, let's insert a track into the podcast here from the new Situation Chicago album. Is there one in particular that you would like to just plop in here for the people to...
they're all really good.
I know.
Why don't we just go track 1, the Mirrors song.
Okay. So this is not... I want to make sure I get the name of the artist right. And I didn't.
Yeah, it's Mirrors, but spelled with 2 I's. Mirrors.
Yes. So you're listening to Mirrors, the song Sinistry.
Yeah.
On... The Underbelly Hours in my basement.
So this is a 14-track album. New, brand spanking new.
Yeah, just came out 2 days ago. Yeah, there's 10 artists actually on. So the first situation was a double vinyl. This one we just went with single. Part of that was to keep our costs down, but also part of it was to keep the cost down to the general public. To sell a $45, $50 item when we only have one item that we're offering, we felt like it made sense just to offer a single vinyl for the second one, keep the price down. So there's 10 songs on the vinyl, and then someone asked me if they could be included, but the project was already kind of wrapping up, and I was like, well, we can add that as a bonus track. And I was like, well, if we're going to do that, I really want to add this song as a bonus track. And I'd really actually also like to work with, so-and-so. So we ended up... colored. So this is a fun thing, too. Part of this project was one of our sponsors is Smash Plastic. They're the only vinyl record pressing plant in Chicago. So when he first asked me what color we wanted to do, and I was like, oh, I've been there. I've seen all the 180 different colors of, plastic you guys have there. Like... let's just use all of them. So literally every single record is a different color and color pattern. So if you get Situation Chicago 1, like your 2 records are going to not match, and they're not going to match anyone else's 2 records. They're all different. And we're going to do the same with the new one when they're ready to press it. Every single record will be different.
So cool. Yeah. I love that.
And we also feel like that made it more of like a collector's item. Yeah, it's like I know like having red or yellow or pattern records are cool these days instead of just black, to everyone except for DJs who only want black. But having every single piece actually be completely different, I thought was really cool.
That's so cool. But this one's only going to be 1, right?
Correct.
And it's going to have 10 for the vinyl, but 14 because of all the bonus tracks.
Yeah, 10 on the vinyl, and then with the digital download you get 4 bonus tracks. One of them is actually my good friend Justice Hill. He's the first song on Situation Chicago 1. Okay. We have a DJ Honeybun remix of his song, so that was like a nice tie-in between the first and second albums too.
I like the DJ's name, Honeybun. That's just cute. I like.
Yeah,
that.
Actually, someone maybe it was the Reader. Someone asked me a few weeks ago for a press picture of DJ Honeybun. But for the record, no one knows who DJ Honeybun is. This person is functions under anonymity. So you can follow them on Instagram.
But they're from Chicago, we think.
Probably.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So apart from this mysterious DJ Honeybun, what else? I guess is there anything connecting the artists that you put onto this Situations Chicago Volume 2, or in general anything that's like connecting them on the first track or first album as well? Or do you guys just go through and you're like, you know what? I think it'd be super cool if we had X, Y, Z on this album.
Yeah. No. Well, it was just. I mean, it's music that I like.
Fair.
But it wasn't just about what I like. It was important to me that we represent as much of Chicago as possible. And whether that be specific communities or different styles of music. Be fully representative of everything that happens here, but also like there are cities that are known for specific eras or type, like Seattle's known for grunge, even though there's all kinds of music in Seattle. But also, Nashville's known for country music, even though there's metal and electronic. But Chicago. But when you think of like, well, what's Chicago known for? It's actually known for everything. There's not one. It's not just Motown. We're known for jazz. We're known for blues. We're known for house. We're known for rock. It actually is known for all of these things. So I wanted all of those things to be a part as much as possible. In the same way, I wanted to have local artists that I love and respect involved, but I also wanted some bigger names on there too, just to kind of bring some weight and attention to it as well.
Right.
For the new one, I was really excited to have Jeff Parker. Again, I told you I moved here not just because of Tortoise, but they were definitely influential on my music career. So it was cool to have Jeff from Tortoise on it.
Who would be like a dream artist? Another dream artist that you'd want to have like on the third one, for example?
Herbie Hancock.
Herbie Hancock.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So managers of Herbie Hancock, if you're watching, please reach out.
We actually have Herbie tuning in every week.
Oh, well, also, hey,
he writes in.
Hey, Herb.
Yeah, he writes his physical letters.
Yo, Herbie, call me.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, you can play a grand piano, you can play the guitar, you can play whatever you want, man.
A triangle. Cool. Yeah, I mean, dude, just like looking through this, list, really interesting.
Yeah, we've got hip hop, like from Robust. We've got kind of
Humphreys McGee.
Yeah, which that song it's a very kind of jazzy bluegrass number, and it features Bella Fleck on that track.
I didn't read that. Yeah. I'm gonna cry.
She didn't read that.
Guys, you don't understand how much.
Yeah, Bella Fleck's on the record.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Oh my gosh, I have to listen to that. Like I said, I didn't listen through this whole thing yet. I can't believe I missed that.
Imperial Boxman, I love that song. They're a 3-piece kind of Afrobeat funk, instrumental band. Those guys are great. Neptune's Core, which that's a rock band that it's for young teenage girls, ranging from like 11 to 14, and they are like, when you listen to this song, unless I told you would have no idea that was
that's
young
so cool.
teenagers playing. Yeah, they're amazing.
Love that.
Yeah, just kind of a little bit of everything.
That's so cool.
But we also wanted to do it in a way that it doesn't just sound like we just threw a bunch of songs together.
Right.
We definitely put a lot of attention into the flow of the track, in the order, and just making sure that it made sense.
There's contrast, but not so much that it's like jarring from one track to another.
Yeah.
It's like,
what?
It what? Anyways.
Yeah, that's incredible. One thing that's kind of coming to mind now as we're talking is just the scope of this, right? This seems like, for one organization to handle this, it seems huge. Not only are you working with so many artists, you have so many different sponsors, you guys are working with, so many different funds. How do you organize a project like this? How long is this taking you to actually set up and execute? Because it seems like a massive proportion project.
Yeah, it's a lot of man hours that go into it. The second one, nicer's not the word. With the second one, because I went in having more time to plan it and more of a timeline. Like, the first one was really like, if we're going to do this, we have to do it yesterday, and also like the time it takes to press vinyl, that could take 4 months to a year plus, depending. So I was like, if we're going to have this come out and we're going to have the vinyl in hand and be able to sell it in a way that's even going to have any kind of impact, it needs to happen this second. So it was a lot of things really fast, and a lot of where normally if I email someone or I call someone, you wait a week and then get back to them. And I just nagged everyone. I was like, I'll just be that guy. It's fine, but this has to happen now, or it's not going to happen, or it's not going to happen in a way that's meaningful at all.
Right.
And there wasn't always a plan to do a second one. I had that in the back of my head, but it wasn't a for sure thing. And so it was kind of the same way. At some point, I was like, okay, if we're going to do a second one, I need to start working on it now, so it comes out in a timeline that makes sense. But I had more, so I had the grace of having more time to construct it than I did on the first one, which felt like was just put together kind of on a whirlwind. But even then, like, the sponsors that we got for the first one, Dark Matter Coffee, Jepson's Malort, Nature's Grace and Wellness, like, if it wasn't for not just their financial backing, even though that's huge too, but their reach, like their on, like kind of their emotional support to me, their ability to use their connections to get some certain things done more quickly than I would have been able to on my own. And again, back to Smash, especially Smash Plastic, it can take 4+ months just to get your lacquers and plates made, which is the template that they press the vinyl with, for those that don't know. And right now, that's even backed up. There was only last year, unrelated to the pandemic, there's only two factories in the world that make the chemical that you make lacquers from, and one of them blew up. It's like the world's lacquer supply. In the whole world. So half of the world's lacquer supply instantly was gone at the time when there's a higher demand for vinyl than there has been in 30 years.
Wow.
So even just getting the vinyl made, like Smash Plastic, they told their plates guy like put this to the front of the line. They put us to the front of their production line.
Wow.
So they did offer financial support, but all the other things they offered too is just like there's no dollar amount you can put on it. You know, like we wouldn't have even realistically if I didn't have them helping champion the project, we wouldn't have had the vinyl out in 2020. Like it would have come out in January of this year. And instead, like I thought of the idea, I guess in like late March, early April, and we had. When did we release? I can't remember the release date. Was it July 31st or August? I don't know.
It was a summer release date.
Yeah, we had it like 3.5, like from start to finish, it was 3.5 months. Which normally a project like this should take a year and a half.
Wow,
that's incredible.
Yeah,
it just goes to show too, like how well the Chicago community kind of rallied around it too. I mean, you know, like you mentioned, all of these different sponsors: Dark Matter, Pressed, Smash Plastic, the Malort. Like, damn, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. That's incredible.
Thanks. Well, yeah, and it felt good. Obviously the financial support was meaningful for certain ways, but yeah, just all the other ways that they showed support and really rallied together. And we also got the first one 100% funded by other local businesses. So where I normally would have reached out to larger entities that do have deeper pockets, we were able to have the first one be 100% Chicago. So for the second one, we did reach out a little further. Like we've got Red Bull as a sponsor on this one, but I don't know for any whether you like to drink Red Bull or not. Red Bull, for an international company, does so many things to sponsor music and sports and other creative arts. It's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Do you foresee this just like? Do you continue this like until there's no interest, or are you planning just a couple more and then all right, we'll be good to go?
Right now, it's kind of a wait and see. Yeah. The idea of Quiet Pterodactyl was always to be more events, like live events and educational focused, not to become a record label.
Right.
But if the demand, if I feel like we can make another record and the general public will help support it and buy it, and also we can do that in a way that's going to have a positive impact on the music community, then we'll keep doing it. If it seems like the interest isn't there, then we won't. We just recently started working with a group in Seattle to create a Situation Seattle. There's an organization there called Smash, and their focus is to help find affordable healthcare for musicians. Seattle Musicians Affordable. I don't remember the exact acronym. Sorry, Smash. But those guys have been awesome to work with, so we're putting together Situation Seattle. So yeah, again, if the main thing for me is not just can we sell records, but also can we have a meaningful, positive impact on the music community, and not just these guys or this one venue, or like if we can have a widespread impact on the music community as a whole, and it's a positive project, then we'll do it.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned events. Could we shift more towards what's the future of events right now? Like as far as indoor events for these venues, like what do you know of as far as plans?
Some people have already started booking shows like right away, but they're keeping ticket sales, to a lower percentage of capacity. A lot of them are still waiting. Like they're starting to book shows in October, November, but they're not in any rush to try to get people inside, which I think is great. I think that's a responsible thing to do. I've got friends in like Florida and North Carolina, like, you guys are crazy. I've been going to shows for like 5 months already. I'm like, well, you're crazy. I wouldn't go to those shows personally, like just out of, and I've had COVID, like just out of caution, and I'm vaxxed, out of cautiousness. I don't want to be in a room packed with,
it's going to be really difficult to navigate all the different comfort levels too as we like ease our way out of this, because it ranges the gamut, right, from people who have been already like crazy active to people who are still like afraid to go to the grocery store. So it's a really difficult situation to be in.
Yeah, but just generally speaking, I think everyone's just trying to be responsible and safe, and cautious, because currently, and I don't really blame the government or the private sector, but the government's now response is, if you're vaxxed, you're good. Like you can go be out. You don't have to wear a mask, etc., which is fine. But then they put the onus on small businesses like restaurants and music venues to make the decision of, are you going to check people at the door? Are you going to have vax cards? You know, like
There's
things like that. There's not really a template, so it takes the responsibility. Like, I don't know that I'm comfortable with having a governmental issued vax card. That's kind of weird, but I also don't think that on already struggling businesses like these venues and restaurants and what have you, that they should have to have extra security at their door, you know, to make sure that people coming in are vaxxed, or that, you know, it's kind of a complicated thing.
It's no precedent at all.
Yeah. But I definitely think, I understand why the government wants to shirk that burden, but then you're putting the burden on these small businesses that are already struggling. They're already arguing with people from please put your mask on, you're an anti-vaxxer, to the opposite, like, you're not doing enough, I don't feel safe here. You know, like, there's no way you can make the general public happy when you're in that kind of environment. So it does kind of suck for small businesses, and it's going to, like, not for the next few months, for the next 2 or 3 years, I think, until we figure out whatever this new normal is going to be.
Right. This is just kind of shifting gears towards yourself now a little bit. Quiet Pterodactyl. Obviously, this is your huge project right now with Situation Chicago. But you mentioned events and stuff. Ideally, what would be certain, like, projects, events, educational initiatives that you would like to put on once, you know, everything's kind of in the clear, and Situation Chicago maybe is more of a finished project?
I would like to continue to do fundraisers, both for Quiet Pterodactyl itself, but also working, like, hand in hand with other nonprofits. You know, obviously most nonprofits have annual fundraisers or, you know, quarterly fundraisers, and I've been to lots of things like that, and some of them are great, and some of them are just boring. And I think we can come in as, like, you know, as a very, like, low cost consultant in a way to help them make their stuff cooler and more interesting, because I know so many creative people both in visual arts and fashion and music, you know, like, just helping them, hopefully helping bring more attention to their organizations, but making their fundraisers just a lot more fun and interesting, which is that's kind of one of the things that I just personally want to achieve, and but then also just doing events, like booking shows, you know, putting shows together. Even pre-pandemic, and I wouldn't call this an event, but I was every Tuesday night at Ludlow, I was DJing. I'm not a real DJ, but I was playing all vinyl, but only playing Chicago music. And there wasn't a certain style, and it could be a record from the 50s, or it could be, you know, the new Monobody that just came out last week, you know, or something. And I was playing records in their entirety, or maybe just one side, but 100% Chicago music. So going from things, like really small scale, just like come hang out on a Tuesday on the patio and listen to cool Chicago-based music, you know, to bigger events that draw crowds and what have you. But definitely, I've been asked a lot lately from friends and peers when we are going to start doing events, and that I don't have a specific answer other than I'm not looking for my nonprofit to be a pioneer in hosting events, and also as long as I'm working so closely with CIVL, as long as, you know, more than half of the members of CIVL are still closed, I'm not going to be trying to book events that ultimately not just competes with them, but if they feel like it's not safe for their business to be open indoors yet, then why would I as a nonprofit feel safe that I should be gathering people together? You know, I feel like once all of the music community gets to whatever the new level of functioning is, then we'll start consider, you know, doing events.
What's something that you want audiences / musicians to know about? Well, I don't know if I like that question. I'm just kind of picturing, like, you know, we've been
maybe
talking
if you asked
so
it in a
much.
funny voice.
Like it better.
Can you do a Christopher Walken?
Oh God! No. What are you thinking?
Do you want me to ask a question before while you kind of rephrase yours? Or something?
Go ahead.
All right, this may be a digression. I don't know, but I remember before you mentioned something about, you know, before the pandemic, it seemed like everything was going like Live Nation and all that good stuff, or bad stuff.
Yeah, all
that stuff.
Monopolistic stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Do you foresee, or through like seeing the response to all your work with this, do you think that the smaller independent venues and the really local underground scene is going to bounce back better than ever before, and there's going to be maybe more interest in finding out what's happening down the street or in your backyard than rather going to like Lollapalooza. Because a couple things I've seen, just I mean, out here in the burbs, it seems like there's definitely a renewed interest of like going out and finding who's here making like new original music, and that's been really encouraging to see. Right. And also it has been fun to see just the complete utter disappointment in the Lollapalooza lineup. People are just like, yeah, there's really nothing for me. Yeah. And like I feel like the way at least full-blown mainstream pop music is going, I think people are starting to find their niches in the local level more so. Do you think that's all headed in that direction, or do you think Live Nation is going to come back and just be like, no?
I would say both are going to happen, because on the one hand, I want to sound like positive for the future. You know, like yes, like people are going to pay more attention to local music and actually support local music, both with their ears and with their dollars. Right. But also realistically, we live in a world where Amazon and Walmart and like that's what people do. Like I used to use Amazon. At some point I chose not to. And most everything, I've never thought, oh, I can't get this because I can't get, if I can't get on Amazon, like, there's nothing that I can't get. Like, Amazon's just a retailer. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying everything I want or need, I can get without using Amazon. I just choose to not use it. And if you do, that's fine. But when you have, these huge dominant players in any industry, and that becomes people's go-tos, and that's all they know. The same, like, I'm not opposed to going to see a show at Wrigley Field, but I know they're only going to book these huge international artists, and it's going to be booked by Live Nation, and that's the reality of the situation, and there's still going to be a dominant player. Like, that's not going to go away. But I think that both can coexist as long as one isn't so predatory that it takes over the other. I can't put on a show at Wrigley Field. I'm not even equipped to do that. I don't have the staff or the funding. Right. Or I can't financially back a tour that big. So those things can coexist as long as the big player allows the smaller players, which is 90% of everyone else, like the space and the room to do so. It's when they come in and say, "Oh, we want what you have too," and they, Pac-Man and just eat away at it, and then we don't have anything left, which is the nature of predatory capitalism is to do that. So I think as long as you can have that balance, everything will be okay.
And have you been seeing a renewed interest, at least with among your circle of because I feel like
for me, my friend circle, we all support local music, right. Not all, but I'm so hyper focused on it that's a lot of my group. So I definitely have a
little bias.
Yeah, a biased perspective.
Yeah, just from my experience, it seemed like before, when everything was just full steam ahead, and was, nothing normal, whatever that word is.
However terrible that normal was.
Right. It was so hard to get people to take a local, independent artist seriously, like. To just be like, hey, Friday night, we're going here to check out these guys, they're amazing. And then some people would be like, who are they? I don't know, I guess, maybe.
Well, that also comes back to a capitalist idea on what art is or how it should function. Like, well, that music must not be good because it's not famous and generating millions of dollars in revenue. Yeah. That has nothing to do with good. I mean, it can be good and do that. It could also be terrible and do that. That has nothing to do with the quality of the musicianship or whether you're going to enjoy, whether you're going to have an emotional reaction to hearing these sounds that these humans create. Right.
I do think that things like this, though, definitely are piquing people's interest more. And the fact that there was no big Live Nation concerts in the past year or so, starting to be some small outdoor concerts now, people are starting to be interested. I mean, look at the Underbelly Hours showcase we did in the beer garden on Friday. Like, there was people out there who, were just regulars at the bar, and I don't know, I'm not convinced all of them would have been interested in coming out if all of this, pandemic stuff didn't happen, and, they weren't encouraged to kind of look inward at their own community again and be like, oh yeah, you know what? these people are actually pretty good. I want to support and listen to them because I don't have outside distractions now. And things like this, too. I mean, like, you guys have been all over the place about Situation Chicago. You've been on, like, I think the news, right? Like WGN, I think I heard you guys on.
Yeah, we're ABC 7, WGN, WTTW all covered us last year.
So it's getting really great press coverage, and I feel like I'm on Team Dan a little. I think that there's a hope that there will be more. Maybe not, obviously.
I know, I do. I hope that. Yeah. But yeah, I guess I'm so entrenched in it that I'm always like, why are there not more people here?
Right. There should always be more people.
Yeah, there should always be more people there. Yeah, so just constant promotions. Right. But also, like, recognize people's lives are very busy, and especially once people start having children, which is most people, that's a necessary distraction. This is your children,
you have to take care of them. I mean, they're here. You might as well take care of them.
You're not going to go to a show that starts at 10 or 11 p.m. all 5 nights a week when you have kids. If you're a good parent. You're responsible. That's
a whole nother pie.
Yeah.
iPad parenting.
But I do think, like, looking local out of necessity because you couldn't go anywhere during the pandemic, hopefully, that'll cause people to look for local music and art as well.
Speaking of local and supporting local, so it's on Bandcamp, Situation Chicago 2. Can you buy the digital album currently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the vinyl, if people want to get
pre-order, you can pre-order now. We're hoping to have it in hand as soon as, like, end of June, early July. And again, even that's an amazing, like, if it wasn't for Smash Plastic, we wouldn't have it till 2022. So, yeah, you can pre-order the vinyl now, and if you do so, you get the digital download with the bonus tracks at SituationChicago.com. And then once we have it in hand, there will be more than a handful of local records, and also independent local record stores. We'll have it in stock. Including Mile Long here in Wheaton. They carried the first one, and they definitely are going to be bringing the second one too. So.
Yeah. We love local record stores. I love that they're coming back too. That's just making me so happy. Like, people are actually going out and buying stuff from them.
Mile Long's been here for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, it's a nice shop.
I love it.
Yeah, we're hoping to have it in store before the second record store day, July 17th. Right. But for the record store day people, because that is an actual organization, this is not an official record store day release, but we're hoping to have it in those stores before the mid-July record store day.
And in addition to the vinyl, there's also a extremely limited thing that you can buy if you really want, like, a memento from this incredible collaboration with hand-painted cover art. Is that correct?
It is. So Chadwick, the gent that painted the cover art for this, and he also did for the first and the second one. I think for the first one he did like 25, and we sold out of all of them.
Nice. 25 with the same technique of the.
Yeah. So and he.
When you say that, because we didn't talk about that on the podcast, right?
No.
Yeah. He has a very unique technique, which to create this kind of micro dust that has become the exploding head on the cover. So he takes the actual jacket and then he paints even more. He overlays more painting and things and like different color variations and things on top of that. So you are getting a unique piece. Yeah, we have some other bundles in there. There's a couple. We're selling some of the test presses. We've got a couple of bundles with other local artists, and then we have our big donation bundle, which there's 10 of, that I don't remember the total count, but you get about 10 or 12 vinyl albums from other, like Gramps the Vamp, VV Lightbody, a bunch of other cool artists, Hoodsmoke,
so you get
Psalm 1, who else? Okay.
So
and then you're also getting an original piece of artwork from Jared Haberman. You're also going to get, we have Quiet Pterodactyl slip mats that go on your turntable that we are not selling anywhere else. You can only get them with this big donation bundle. And then you also are, and then you're also going to get access to some other future Quiet Pterodactyl events and things. You get some free things in the future as well.
Also, you forgot to mention a green logo button from
green. Actually, you know,
most important.
Most important thing. Yeah. Actually, this is so incredible. Wow, look at this bundle. Holy cannoli.
I feel like a late night talk show host.
Right.
Like, and now
there's your green button.
We get buttons,
Thank you.
guys.
You get one too.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Fantastic.
I love this.
Thank you.
Right.
Let me.
There we go.
It's been so long since I put on a pin.
It feels so official now. I feel like we're part of the club, Dan.
Shit.
Part of the Quiet Pterodactyl fan club here.
This will be it.
And all it took was a button. That's awesome.
So wow, there's basically what you're saying here is that there's the accent again. What you're saying here is that there's a range of options to support Quiet Pterodactyl and Situation Chicago for all sorts of different budgets.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. From like the normal digital album all the way up to the super duper exclusive 12 vinyl button album set.
Yes.
That's so cool. Incredible stuff. Incredible. Is there any other last questions we want to have about this collaboration here that we'd like to ask? Oh.
I would say, if we also have a threadless shop where we do have, like we mentioned before, the Gone But Not Forgotten bar merch, but there's some Quiet Pterodactyl stuff. There's some other original artwork from other local artists that we feature on there that rotates, so it changes all the time. That's quietpterodactyl.threadless.com. And yeah, keep an eye out. We have some other, I think, fun and exciting situation-related things. We got some cool posters that are being made that are going to come out soon with some unique artwork, and I think we are going to do something else with dark matter sometime later this year. Nice. So we have some cool things still tied to Situation where the proceeds for all those things will still go to CIVL Safe.
Mm-hmm.
And if people want to go to specific places to find that out, you got Instagram or website.
Oh yeah, we're on all the things. I don't do much with the TikToks, even though we have one, just because I'm not good at it. I need an intern or something. I don't know. Yeah. You're really good at the videos.
I don't know about that. For Instagram maybe, but our TikTok is
I don't.
We're like great. You can follow Quiet Pterodactyl on Instagram, Facebook, all the things, or just go to quietpterodactyl.org and all the info for everything that we do is on there too.
Cool. Yeah. And then just a random last question I have: what's an album or what's an artist you've been listening to a lot lately? Because I feel like we don't ask enough like cash questions sometimes about like just what music are you into right now?
Question?
Cash, you will. K-A-Z.
Cash. Short for casual.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about
Alright, I'll go away now. But, just, we've been talking so much about music.
I mentioned, I think in passing, the new Monobody. I've been jamming that one.
Mm-hmm.
The last few months. Tinsy is a local artist. Kind of stark acoustic, beautiful haunting stuff. Kind of
nice.
She's great. What else have I been listening? I've been listening to a lot of funk, but like new, but 70s style synthy stuff. There's a Chicago Boogie Volume 2 that just came out.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That's really good. Yeah, that just came out on vinyl through Star Creature is a local record label that put that out. Bus Crates, who's a DJ from Pittsburgh, that this last year put out it's all like kind of late 70s, like nice. Almost disco funk type stuff.
Nice.
But it's all new. He wrote it all new. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Saucy Lady. That's another kind of disco electro.
Saucy Lady, I love it.
Funk record
that sounds like a great time.
I've been listening to that one a lot. The new Twilight Tone that came out this last year is really good. He's on the first Situation, but outside of that, he's just awesome. Yeah, my tastes are all over. Yeah. I listen to a lot of jazz. I listen to a lot of rock. But yeah, I like the dancey stuff too. So
I think some disco funk is what we need right now in this world. A little bit more of
bring back the disco funk.
Give back a little bit more happy hippie energy. 70s disco. Cool.
Very cool.
All right. Well,
thank
you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is so cool. So excited to finally have gotten to talk about this project. And be sure to go buy Situation Chicago Volume 1, Volume 2. And again, we just covered this whole range of options you guys can buy. So like for any budget, literally it will fit. You may think
it
doesn't
matter. Yeah, you get a digital download for $15. Right. And yeah, if that, you might think it doesn't have an impact, but it does, because this is all going back to musicians and to support our music community. And again, if you live in the suburbs, this isn't just for the city, like this in the city. Yeah. This impacts the whole Chicagoland area, and it's needed. Like it's just needed. I mean, a lot of people are suffering right now, but definitely this. I don't even like the word industry because it almost dehumanizes it. Like these people community. That are this community that are our friends. They really need all the support they can get.
Mm-hmm. All right, so go check out Situation Chicago.
Do it.
And if
do
you
it now, Shia LaBeouf it.
If you also happen to like, hearing about this type of stuff about local musicians, what people are doing to support each other in our community, interviews with people, just goofy whatever the hell we decide to come up with on that day as well, go follow the Underbelly Hours on Facebook, Instagram, unfortunately TikTok, YouTube. We also have a Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're available on most podcasting platforms thanks to Ox Audio, a Chicago-based podcasting platform.
Did you say video content on YouTube?
Oh yes, video content on YouTube.
If you want the video podcast and clips of the spiciest parts of the episodes,
yes.
Go to our YouTube.
Some of the racier parts.
Yeah. The last guy.
70s disco.
Electric Stove was really into the old school Dr. Seuss. I think we came to realize. I'm kidding. There's a long gag about that.
All right. But thank you guys so much for listening. Go support local music, and see ya next time on the Underbelly Hours.
You're Adela.
You're Dan.
And this has been another
One more time.
This has been another episode of the Underbelly Hours in my basement.
Boy.
Are you tired of listening to the same bands over and over again?
Over.
Stop listening to what mainstream media chooses for you.
You filthy casual.
And try something new. Tune in to the Underbelly Hours every Sunday night at 6 p.m.
on WRSE 88.7 FM.
For exclusive interviews, unreleased content, and more from the depths of Chicago's underground. I'm Adela.
I'm Dan.
Take off your coat, stay a while!
Now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you stream your podcasts, thanks to Ox Audio, a Chicago-based podcasting platform.